Welcome back to another episode of the FitBod Blueprint. You've got Phil and Tyler here as always. Tyler, how you doing today, man?
Pretty good. We're finally. I know we always seem to start off with the weather, and it's such a cliche thing, right? But we're finally expecting our first snowfall this weekend, which is crazy. The fact that Nashville and parts of Texas got their first snowfall before we did up here in Canada. Granted, I'm on the West Coast, so a little different than when you get into mid and eastern Canada, but still kind of crazy.
Even crazier is our kids' godparents, Jamie and Jason. They got snow in the Florida Panhandle.
Yeah.
It's been absolutely nuts. But
yeah.
we had 66 for a high yesterday. So I mean, practically swimming weather.
Yeah, that's like summer weather.
No, man, like you said, I know it's a little cliche, but especially here in the winter, it's such a drag to be cooped up and inside. And I don't know about you, but I notice a huge difference of whenever it's too cold to have the kids outside, they are just wound for sound at the end of the night, and bedtime is just like dealing with two monsters. Versus if they have time to go outside, ride their bike, or throw a ball or kick a ball or whatever, they are way more chill, way more calm. They've got some of that energy, some of that crazy out. It is an immediately noticeable difference for the tone of the night.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I mean, thankfully it's been cold but sunny, so we've at least been able to get Quinn out a little bit after school to get some of that extra energy out.
100%, man. So on today's episode, we are continuing from last week's kind of theme, taking a little expansion from a chapter out of the book Atomic Habits. So I really am excited about this one. So this is based off of chapter 14 in Atomic Habits. Make good habits inevitable and make bad habits impossible. So Tyler, have you ever tried to quit a bad habit, but you just found yourself having a hard time with stopping it? And have you ever struggled to stick with a good habit because life gets in the way, especially as a dad and as a husband?
Yeah, I would think that you wouldn't be human if you had answered differently for either of those questions.
Well, that was me testing to see if you're actually an android or not, but you passed. So that's today's hot topic. We're going to be going over some strategies for making good habits inevitable and making bad habits impossible by using friction, by using automation, and also utilizing what's called commitment devices. So for me, I can, if I try to think about, hey, what's a time where reducing friction made a good habit stick? I've talked about this before about my water strategy whenever it comes to my morning coffee, especially after having kids. I found it really hard to be hitting my target of a gallon per day. And what I started to do was, all right, it's hard to do this much water later in the day. So I started to reduce the friction by saying, hey, let me front load my day. So part of that is whenever I go to bed at night, the last thing that I do before I walk upstairs is I fill my water container, which is a 40-ounce tumbler. And that is the last thing I do at night. Fill it. Bring it upstairs. In the morning, as soon as I'm done brushing my teeth, I start drinking my water. That way now I've got a good jump on the day. This reduces some of the friction that I would face later on in the day as, answering emails, getting in on check-in calls, responding to check-ins, designing training programs, making revisions to them. So this helped to make a good habit stick. Or increasing friction is another good strategy here to eliminate bad habits. So the goal for this episode is that by the end, you've got some actionable strategies to design your environment in a way that guarantees success. And again, reoccurring theme, one of my favorite lines from Atomic Habits is be the architect of your environment, not the victim. So let's talk about the power of friction in habit changes. With good habits, you want to reduce friction. You want to make them easier to accomplish. With bad habits, you want to increase friction as much as you can. Make them super inconvenient or make them impossible. So, for example, you want to work out? Lay your clothes out the night before if you're trying to work out in the morning. That's going to reduce friction of starting the good habit of getting into an exercise routine. If you want to eat healthier, set out time, prep your meals in advance, log them in your app. This makes it so that it's the easier choice versus having to cook a whole different meal, having to figure out what you're going to log. If you already take time on Sunday, like what I do, Tyler, I assume you do something similar. You kind of pre-plan some stuff.
Yep.
It makes it so that now you've already got a plan that you committed to. You've already prepped out some stuff, and it's just grab and go. Again, this is reducing friction for implementing a good habit. Now, you want to stop a bad habit, like let's say scrolling social media at night. Delete the apps that are taking up your time or set a time lock on your phone. So, Tyler, can you think of some other environmental changes that can have a huge impact on behavior, whether it's making a good habit stick or reducing likelihood of a bad habit?
Yeah. I think, certainly one of the biggest ones, like when we kind of brought it up there, is taking that time to do some meal prep. And, even if you're not prepping the food, just even having knowing what dinner you're going to be eating on a certain night, especially later in the week, like that Wednesday, Thursday, I'm sure all parents out there can know when that Thursday hits, it's like, oh my God, I don't want to cook tonight. And then so it was, for a while it was Friday night was our pizza night. And then for a while there, Thursday nights started becoming pizza night. It was getting closer and closer to the Monday. But yeah, we have a toddler, we have another one on the way, 2 full-time working parents. Tuesday, Thursday evenings, Quinn is right now in swim lessons, and so we're not getting home till 5-ish. Her bedtime's at 6:30. So really when you are looking at wanting to just have a healthier lifestyle, lose some weight, taking that time to plan is just so underrated. Or not underrated, but can't be understated enough or overstated enough. I don't know which.
I think it'd be overstated.
Yeah. But yeah, and just creating that environment and having fruits and veggies ready to go, pre-packing your meals. If your kids are in sports, knowing that you are just going to be out of the house a lot, throw a little cooler. You've already probably got a bunch of shit in your vehicle anyways. Just put a little cooler in there, have a little bit of ice, put some veggies, whatever, a little bit of Greek yogurt, some small things like that where if you just know you're not going to be home a lot, can make things a lot easier. We've talked about block scheduling, whether it's your workouts, 10-minute walks after each meal, whatever that might look like. So yeah, putting your clothes out. It's just, all those little things where, naturally as humans, we're going to look for the path of least resistance, right? We're always going to want to do the easiest thing. That's just how we're wired. And so let's try and take advantage of that, and then making those good habits kind of that path of least resistance to take advantage of some of that biology.
Yeah, absolutely, man. What this kind of reminds me of here, you mentioned going for the walks after having a meal. So I have a client that works from home, and what he started doing was, even though he works from home, he has his shoes on whenever he breaks away to eat lunch. He puts his walking shoes on, so that way whenever he's done with his meal, he already has his shoes on. It's one less degree of friction. So he started implementing this habit of whenever he goes to heat up his lunch, he puts his shoes on. By the time his lunch is done heating up, he's already got his shoes on, he's already got his headphones pulled out, eats his lunch, and then he goes and has a walk for the remainder of his lunch break pretty much. I think he gives himself 3 or 4 more minutes at the end to just, okay, headphones off, finish listening to what he's listening to, get logged back in. But that right there, it becomes the action is the trigger. The action of putting his walking shoes on before he eats his lunch, that has started to create the better habit of now he goes for a walk. And what I find for most people is if you go for a 10-minute walk, you're going to get about 1,000 steps. The general rule of thumb is you're going to get about 100 steps for every 1 minute worth of walking that you're doing. Now, obviously, some people might walk at a little slower gait, or some people might walk a little bit faster. It's so funny. I think back to like my best friend in high school, like tall, lanky dude, walk at a snail's pace, and then meanwhile I'm going through the hallways like I'm Mike Allstott from the Buccaneers, like boom, boom, boom. Yeah, just trying to go as fast as I can.
Yeah.
Bowling
like your lane 3-4 steps ahead. Like, all right, here.
Oh yeah, that was 100% me, man. Automating good habits, right? We want to start recognizing that we need good habits that don't require, a ton of thought. So, if we think about someone that, let's kind of take a little parallel here because there's a lot of parallels with fitness and finances. If somebody said, hey, I want to build up a 3-month emergency fund, obviously it would be ideal if you could just go, oh yeah, I've already got it. Or if you could just go, yeah, I can skip the next 3-4 paychecks and just automatically have it built in. That'd be great. But probably a little bit more attainable is most online banks now, most banks, you can go into your online account and you can set up a savings bucket of, hey, I'm going to save 5% of all the money that comes in, or I'm going to save 10% of the money that comes in until I get to my 3-month emergency fund, and then I'm going to drop it back to 5% so I keep building an emergency fund. It's kind of the same thing with your fitness goals. So if you show me your calendar and what's on it, I will show you what is important to you in your life. And if you have nothing on there, you're not living with priorities.
Yeah.
So if you pre-schedule your workouts into your calendar, and this is something that I go over with a lot of my clients with, is look, this is how I set myself up for success. I have time blocked out for the gym. I have time blocked out for my meal prep on Sunday, 2 hours to just cook nothing but my protein. I have time set up for, okay, I'm going to do some meditation. I'm going to do, a little bit of hot water therapy, doing the hot tub. Like, I have all that stuff blocked out. So if you start scheduling your workouts, it's going to make sure that you're doing them now without thought, because now you're getting a notification on your phone. Your phone can be a great help, or it can be a huge detriment. It just depends on how you use the tool. So, another idea here would just be, hey, if you're going grocery shopping, set out your time that whenever you're making your list, you're also then following up before you leave and go to the store. You're following up with inputting, what are you having for breakfast this week? What are you having for lunch? What is the family doing Monday, Tuesday? Like, are you doing Taco Tuesdays? I love doing Taco Tuesdays. Or are you doing, hey, pizza night on Friday or pizza night on Thursday for Tyler, right? Like, you start
it depends on how the week's gone so far.
Right. But you start adding that into, hey, here's an action that you're already taking. Here's an action that you want to start doing. Now you're chaining it together. Yeah.
And I mean now something that we've started doing too is like, this is going to be this might sound old school for some people, but like recipes, even new ones that we're finding, we're printing them out, and now we put them in like a little book in our kitchen of like recipes that we know we enjoy. So it kind of goes along the lines of like, hey, maybe every Tuesday is Taco Tuesday. It's just finding some of those things that you know you enjoy, they're macro friendly, and just put that on repeat. Like, maybe it sounds so simple, but like it's gonna pay those huge dividends, because then you do get into this rhythm and routine of like just knowing what I'm gonna eat, and it makes the tracking that much easier. It almost maybe gets to a point where you don't even have to get the food scale out for that meal, because you just kind of know, because you've done it so often. Like, my breakfast never changes, unless it's maybe a weekend and we're having some pancakes. But other than that, the amount of my breakfast is the same and what I eat is the same. I have weighed that out for the last 2 years, almost every morning. I don't really need to weigh it out anymore. Right. So you're automating that process, making it easier, but knowing that you're doing the thing to get you to wherever you may want to be.
Right. 100%, man. So
and
again,
also, never go to the grocery store hungry.
Never.
Never. No.
No, but like you said, you start automating certain things and they become easier and easier. So like, similar thing, right? If you hand me a carton of liquid egg whites, so one serving is 46 grams weighed out on a food scale, 4 servings is 184 grams. I can pour and eyeball it within like 5 grams. And 5 grams of liquid egg whites, you're talking about like a quarter of a gram of protein. Yeah. So like the fact that you do things enough, it starts to become repetitive. It starts to become habits. These habits now build and they become more automated into what your day-to-day routine is. Now the flip side of that, you want to remove bad habits by typically eliminating whatever the trigger is. So that might be a matter of something super simple, like, hey, if it's just you, or it's just you and your spouse, maybe you're eliminating junk food for a certain amount of time. Like, hey, we're going to just get it out of the house. We're not going to buy it again. And that just becomes a rule for you that, hey, maybe you're only buying some of those foods that you might struggle with. Maybe you're only buying them once every other month. Yeah. And when it's done, it's done. But, another thing that you can start doing here, again, is just to increase the friction of any bad habit that you are currently doing. So like I mentioned this before, whenever, 5, 6 o'clock rolls around, just depends on the night. And admittedly, if I'm trying to talk to one of my parents or not, since we moved states, I give myself a little flexibility on this now. But my hardline rule is by 6 o'clock, my phone is on my charger. It's sitting in the bathroom, and that is how I made sure that I am present as a father. It's how I make sure that whenever the kids go to bed, I am still being present as a husband. I'm not doom scrolling at night because, again, the people at Meta are very, very intentional with there is no end to the scroll on Instagram or Facebook. Yeah. If there's no trigger of stop and choose to repeat this action, you're going to keep doing it. You're going to keep scrolling. So another idea would just be to delete some accounts or some subscriptions that are feeding into your bad habits. If you're trying to read, let's say you're trying to read 1 book a month, and you keep going, well, I don't have time for it, but you're on your 28th rewatch of How I Met Your Mother or Friends or The Office. Yeah. You have the time, and if you can't have the discipline to not turn on Netflix or not turn on Peacock or whatever it is, take the adult action. Children do what feels good, adults do what they have to do, but take the adult action of just cancel the subscription. Yeah. There, you just now, if you were averaging watching 2 episodes a night of a TV show, which, let's face it, that's probably a conservative estimate.
That's very conservative, I'm sure, nowadays.
Like, a 30-minute sitcom aired on TV has about 22 minutes of runtime. There, you just found 44 minutes by eliminating those 2 episodes. 44 minutes, you should be able to read a couple of chapters of a book.
Yeah, I'm quite a voracious reader, and like if I have the option between some TV time or reading a book, I'm usually reading the book. Like there's a lot of time that you do have, so yeah, it's that vice versa of what we talked about in making good habits easy. You just gotta make these things hard. I think sometimes even it may not be in this chapter. I can't fully remember, but he talks about how just cleaning, where you've got the bathroom cleaner up in your bathroom, and it's, maybe you turn on the shower, you quick scrub the toilet, right? It's just those small little things where you're just making those things easy, taking out your trigger foods, even if it's like a mental habit even too, right? Like if we're kind of talking about social media, and following certain accounts makes you feel bad about yourself. Like they're right there. Unfollow those. Mm-hmm. I've been guilty of this. If you're deep in a prep or deep in a cut, probably not a good idea to follow a bunch of food accounts. I've done that before. You should have seen my saved. Like I was like, I'm eating this. Like, and so it's all of those things where, it's so easy to go the easy route, and it is hard to make that decision to go that harder route, but that is just like you said, kids do what they want, adults do what they have to, and that is a big part of this.
It's so funny you bring that up, because I remember whenever I was on my all-time lowest calories ever, I had to stop following, at the time, my favorite YouTube channel, which was Furious Pete, because I loved watching him take on like the food challenges. And there was one episode where I remember I was on the treadmill. I'm like 45 minutes in on an hour-long session, and it was him and Rich Piana as his guest. And they were trying to see, babe.
That guy's I know he was controversial. I loved him. I really enjoyed watching his content. I thought he was fantastic.
I loved it. So Rich picked ice cream for him to challenge Furious Pete too. I think Rich got like 2 pints in on Ben and Jerry's, and Furious Pete was just like mowing through. And Rich Piana didn't account for the brain freeze that was going to come from it.
Yeah. Oh man.
I remember like I'm 45 minutes into like an hour-long cardio session, and I just see the Ben and Jerry's, and I'm not like a huge sweets person. My vice is always more like thick, fatty steaks. Like, give me a good tomahawk any day of the week over like ice cream. But that was where I recognized, like, no, I need to stop following this for right now. Whatever. I was like, man, that ice cream looks good, and it was like mint chocolate chip, and like I hate mint chocolate.
Just like the most random, like, I don't even like this, but I want this. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I've been there, like, and just to kind of, I remember being able to like taste Oreos in my mouth. I was like, I haven't even had Oreos. I would just be obsessing with them. Like, I can taste it. So yeah.
You saw a tire that looked too much like the top of an Oreo.
Yeah.
So let's dive into one of my favorite things, and that is commitment devices. So this is how you can lock in some future behaviors, because it just adds an extra layer of accountability. And remember, the choice that you're going to make today will have a control for your behavior in the future. One of the best things that I can recommend, if you're struggling to get started with getting into a gym routine, or if you've got some home gym equipment and it's just kind of more collecting dust than doing anything else, get a gym. That's like my number one thing. If you're really struggling with it, or if you're having a hard time with, I'm nervous about going to the gym, it can be an intimidating environment for some people, get a gym buddy. If you have friends that are constantly talking about getting started, just call them out on it. Just look, why don't we hold each other accountable for it? We've been talking about getting to the gym, and we've been talking about making this time for ourselves to be better parents, to be healthier. Let's just start blocking out 30 minutes that we're going to meet here at this time. Because now you have that external accountability of, okay, well, I told Bob that I'm going to meet him at the gym at 4:30. It's a higher likelihood that you're going to follow through and be at the gym at 4:30 instead of, all right, I'm going to go to the gym by myself at 4:30. And then, well, I got this email that came in kind of late. Let me answer that. Let me get on that. Oh, and because I answered that email, now 2 other ones came through. And then Tanya from the office had to ask me about, hey, did I fill out my expenses? Like, now a whole slew of things happen versus you going, hey, it's 4 o'clock. It's going to take me 30 minutes to get to the gym. I promised Bob I'm going to meet him there. He would be disappointed if I didn't show up. That adds an extra layer of commitment. Or, if you're having a hard time with, like, okay, I'm really struggling with, with sticking with my calories. Start setting up some penalties for yourself. Like, okay, if I did not log all of my meals today, then I'm not going to allow myself to, again, just kind of circle back to one that we just mentioned. Hey, if you didn't log your food today, I'm not going to say punish yourself by taking away food, but punish yourself by maybe taking away being on your phone at night, or punish yourself by going, you know what? I clearly need a little bit more discipline. Let me remove watching Netflix tonight.
Yeah.
I know that can be a little bit of a hot take for some people, but it's like, for me, I'm a wrestling fan. If I screw up my day, I'm going to make it right. I'm not going to watch, I'm not going to watch Monday Night Raw, or I'm not going to watch Friday Night SmackDown.
I mean, there's, I don't want to say a fine line, but there is a difference between, let's say, punishing yourself on a piece of cardio because you overate and feeling guilty, where on the other side of knowing you can be better and using that as like a chip on your shoulder motivational tool, right? Like, I do think there is that difference.
Right, because that's a device that I use with a lot of my clients. That oh man, I overate. Should I do an hour of cardio? It's like no, but take away some instead of adding something to your plate where it feels like punishment. Take away something. It's like if my kids don't clean their room before they go to school. All right, well, instead of having your 15 minutes of you can have your tablet or you can play on my phone whenever you get home from school for 15 minutes. Congratulations, that's taken away. Go clean your room.
Yeah.
It's doing the exact same thing. And now you're going to go, like for me, right? Tyler, I know this is speaking a little foreign language, but like the Royal Rumble is this weekend. It's like the funnest event to watch in all of pro wrestling. I do not want to miss SmackDown on Friday. So if I was saying like, hey, I'm logging my food, if I missed it tomorrow, I would go, well, I'm not watching that. That really sucks. It's like, no, that's my motivation to do it because I promised myself if I missed this good habit that I want to start implementing more, I would take away something else that I enjoy.
Yeah.
So, these can work because they remove the ability to just rely on sheer willpower. It has it so that now you're relying on creating systems. You're creating processes that work. You're creating also follow through. So, let's talk about now overcoming resistance and just staying consistent.
Yeah.
So, Tyler, somebody says, well, if I don't stick with this, what do I do?
I mean, it can be hard to maybe give a specific answer because I think it can really depend on the context of the person and, why are they not succeeding? Like, are they not planning well enough? But I think you could go that route overall in the sense of, like, be honest with yourself. Why is there resistance, right? Is it
the system you've designed? Maybe does it make failure harder than success?
Yeah, exactly. Could you change your environment a little bit different? Could you try something a little bit different, right? If you've been trying to work out on, I don't know, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, well, maybe those don't work very well. Let's try Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Let's try Sunday, Monday, Wednesday. Maybe you need to experiment a little bit. Maybe it's something that you actually don't want. I would say from a fitness perspective, that's something that I think just because of the overall benefits, it's just something you need to push through and just quit being a little bitch and just go do. But, if it's like whatever, some other habit, I want to write more, or I want to draw more, or whatever, right? Maybe it's just something you don't want to do, and that is, something that you just have to accept. So, yeah, it's really going to come down to context, and as a coach, I'm going to get on a call with that client. All right, let's talk this out, because I've been doing this for 12 years. There isn't really anything I've ever ran into where I couldn't give you some type of solution to figure out, to go try. Now, it's got to be up to you to be willing to try that and see if it actually works. But I can't think of a single situation where there's never been like, you know what, I just don't know if we can figure this out. No, there's always going to be a solution, right?
100%. Look for opportunities. Don't look for excuses. So, the other thing that I'll hear whenever I start talking to people about, hey, set up some commitment devices, increase friction of bad habits, make it so that good habits are a little bit more automated. One thing that I hear a lot is, well, what if I feel restricted? You know what? You're protecting your future self, and you're not limiting your choices. You're embracing fewer choices is the way that I always want people to reframe that. So look, whenever you're committing to this is what I'm going to eat tomorrow, or this is what I'm going to eat this week, you are eliminating the bad choices. You are coming up with a plan, and every time that you stick with that plan, you're building the discipline, you're building the habit, you're showing that your track record is, I am a person who does this. So if right now your track record shows I'm a person that drinks every night of the week, I'm a person that watches a lot of TV, I don't get in a lot of movement, I order out, 4 or 5 nights a week, and I get lunch every day whenever I'm at work. If that's what your current habits show and you're happy with it, then keep doing it. But if you're not happy with the results that kind of a life is producing, then at the end of the day, nobody can wave a magic wand for you. And you're going to have to start embracing some choices that these are the good habits that will get you to where you want to be. because the ones that you're making right now are keeping you further and further away from being who you want to be in a year or 5 years or 10 years from now. So if they're not in alignment with what you're saying your goals are, do you have that courage to stop those habits? Do you have that discipline to say, I'm putting my foot down on this today? And you'll find, I hear this one all the time, people that, maybe eating healthier is not something that they've ever really been taught or something that's come naturally for them. But the more you stick with it, the more that your habits and even your cravings will change. Like, I remember in high school, me and my friends used to go to Steak and Shake after high school. That was like our thing, like 3 days a week. Yeah. We'd stop in because it was like happy hour. It was like half price on any of the burgers. It was like half price on chicken tendies. It was like half price on milkshakes. And like,
kids' dream.
Oh, heck yeah, man. It was super close. Like, it was close to the school. It was close to all of our houses. Like, that was always our thing, was like, hey, let's just pop into Steak and Shake, right? Well, I had to eventually ask myself, well, wait a minute. I just went through all this, like, hard work of losing all this weight. Is getting a double cheeseburger, a super greasy double cheeseburger at that, is that really in alignment with my goals? And at the time, I mean, I'm 16, 17 years old. I have the metabolism to pull that off, and I'm also active enough doing PE. I would always overload my schedule for my electives with phys ed. Yeah. So I was moving twice a day. Plus, I was working out. I was powerlifting. I was doing cardio. Like, I could get away with a lot of stuff at 16 that I damn sure can't in my mid 30s. Yeah. So I had to ask myself, is that really in alignment with where I want to be? Yeah. And it went from this was a habit that was routine. Hanging out with my friends was now starting to become tied with going to Steak and Shake. And I started to crave, like, it's 2:30 on Wednesday. I know what I want. Yep, it's Steak and Shake, baby. Let's go. What happened, though, was I started replacing that with, all right, let me try some of these. Like, this was in the infancy of YouTube. Like, whenever the icon was literally like a little TV-looking thing. So it was, let's find some, oh, look, hey, it's a low-calorie pizza option, or it's a high-protein ice cream recipe. Like, I love my Ninja Creamy, but at the same time, if you've got a good enough blender, we've been making high-protein ice cream for 20 years.
You'll be fine.
I went from, okay, I want a burger, let me make my own out of 93.7. Okay, I want a milkshake, let me make my own using a blender, using protein powder, fat-free whipped cream, and just a little bit of skim milk. Like, boom, there you go. Throw in some ice, some xanthan gum.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know what you'll find is, like, most of the time, you can probably make it better. Mm-hmm. Like, not just better in calories, but better tasting. Like, that's what we have found for most, especially now that going out to eat is so expensive. Like, we find, like, we can make it better most of the time, and for far cheaper, and far less calories, too, right? Like, and so if we're going out for dinner, it's usually, it's going to be for something that we just normally don't make, something like Indian, or, something that is just not what we typically make at home, because I don't know about you, but I can barbecue a burger way, way better than what I'm going to get at a restaurant, right?
Oh, 100%.
And I'm going to do all the toppings, right? I'm doing tomato, bacon, smash burger, cheese, way better.
Yeah. And that's what I was going to bring up was, I'll never forget, it was like 3 years ago, I helped a buddy move, and he was like, he's sitting in the group chat, hey, I'm going to get burgers for us afterwards. And I was like, oh, sweet, this will be cool. Like, so the first thing I unload, being a dad, is the grill. That was the first thing I got off of, that was the last thing I put on his U-Haul. That was the first thing that came off. I was like, yeah, man, we're going to have that thing fired up as soon as we get everything moved. I can't wait to get some burgers, man. And he goes, oh, no, I just ordered them through the McDonald's app. And it was the first time I'd had a McDonald's cheeseburger. I literally took a bite. And first of all, they look super pathetic. But I took a bite and I was just like, nope, bro, I'm good. This tastes absolutely
they have their time and place, but if I'm going for actual dinner, don't
reward me with whatever a McDonald's burger cost.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm good. I'd rather just have some water. But like, again, I took that bite and I went, this is terrible. Versus everyone else is just chowing down on these burgers and they're happy. And that's good for them. But again, it just goes back to whenever you have these habits of this is what you do, this is how you eat, it will absolutely change your taste buds. If I were to try to go to a Steak and Shake right now and have one of their super greasy smash burgers, same thing. I'm probably getting like a bite and I'm good. I don't want it anymore. So couple of things that you can implement hopefully from this, key takeaways: increase the friction for bad habits. Automate good habits as much as you can and use some commitment devices for ensuring future success. So, Tyler, anything that you wanted to add to this before we get to my usual random questions?
No, I think we've covered things pretty well here today.
Awesome, man. So, would you rather have to wrestle a bear once a year or fight a chicken every time you get in your car?
Type of bear.
You're going to go for the bear?
No, what type of bear?
What type of bear?
Black bear,
okay.
grizzly bear, polar bear.
So let's go with
Chicken, but
you know what? Let's go with the black bear.
okay. I mean, so being from where I am, I'm going chicken.
You're going chicken?
Like you see a bear, especially a black bear, you are like going around and just not even bothering it. So, I mean, I've also worked in a chicken barn a couple of times, and those things are a little scary. Like, they do have a pecking order, and so, like, they'll follow you as you're going around, and you're, like, the number one will be, like, behind you, like, pecking at, like, the back of your leg, and you'll see, like, a little line. They'll follow each other, or if they're, like, sitting at eye level, you gotta be careful. They'll gouge your eyes out. But I'll go with a chicken, because I don't drive much.
That is the benefit of working from home, I guess.
Yeah.
I, too, am also going to pick fight a chicken every time I get in the car. Whenever I was growing up, we had a chicken pen. I think at the most we had like 20-something chickens at one point. And we had 2 roosters. At one point we had 3 roosters. So we had our original one that he was just this big, old, like, he was white, but he was also that like yellowed white because he was so old that he was like, you could pick him up and pet him and hold him and he snuggled into you. He was so sweet. The other 2 were mean as could be, which you kind of want out of your roosters to protect your hens.
Yeah.
And whenever I say, like, me and my sister used to have to walk into the chicken pen to collect the eggs, my sole job wasn't to get the eggs. It was I had a trash can lid to use as a shield because they would charge and they would absolutely like synchronize their attack. So I had to like have that trash can lid up like I was Captain America with his shield, just like deflecting these roosters. And I remember the one was pretty big. Yeah. And I was like 6 years old, but I was also like Hercules for a 6-year-old. And I remember he just totally knocked me over like a friggin' bowling pin one time. Just hit me in just the right spot. And I was like, oh no! Yeah. But I figure I learned from that one. I'm going to go with fight a chicken every time I get in my car.
Does it have to be in the car, or can you fight it outside of the car before you get in your car?
The fight starts in the car, and there's no rules beyond that. Let's go with that.
Okay.
Yeah, because if I'm like buckled up, then I'm kind of screwed. Like.
Yeah. I was gonna say you might be in trouble there.
All right. As always, thank you all very much for listening. Please be sure to like, share, subscribe, leave a review, and we will catch you all on the next one.
See ya.